Welcome to the Airvine University. I'm Chris White, Principal Systems Engineer at Airvine. In this technical training module, I will go over the Airvine mobile app and how to use the app to manage, monitor, and troubleshoot a WaveCore network. The Airvine mobile app can be installed on either Android or iOS devices and may be used for both the WaveTunnel and WaveCore products. Okay, so I'm going to open the Android Play Store. If this was an Apple device, you would log into the Apple App Store. And down below, there's a search button. I'll click on that and search for Airvine Mobile, one word, all lowercase. And the first app that shows up is my Airvine mobile app. I'll click on that and install the app. This will take a couple seconds. And then once this is installed, I will go ahead and open the app. And I'll get this pop-up screen that says, allow Airvine Mobile to access this device's location. And I'll click on while using the app. This will initially connect to my Wi-Fi, and I want to connect to the WaveCore Wi-Fi. You can see the button Select Wi-Fi. I'll click on that. And a list of the different SSIDs that are broadcasting in this area are shown. And so I can see a :40 and a :90. That's my WaveCore bridge. So I'm going to click on the :90. And you can see I'm connected, but I have no internet access. This is an Android device, so I'll get a drop-down menu here letting me know that I don't have internet access for this connection, and to tap and I'll get a pop-up that says, this network has no internet access. Do you want to stay connected? And I will click on yes. So now that I'm connected to the SSID for the WaveCore, I'll hit the back button. That was an arrow in the upper left-hand corner. And you can see that my Wi-Fi is now connected to the :90 SSID. And I will go ahead and connect to this WaveCore. Type in my credentials, admin. And this is not a secured network, so this is just password. It's just my lab. And log in. Now that we're in the app, you can see the dashboard up here. In the lower portion of the screen, you'll see that I have dashboard, monitoring, settings, and events. And through the rest of this module, I will go through each of these and describe the different sections. From the Airvine mobile app dashboard, if you look at the upper left-hand corner, you'll see three lines right by the word dashboard. If I click on those, I can see a couple of things here. The product registration. If I were to click on that, it would open up my camera phone, and I could scan in the QR code on the product and then go into product registration. The privacy and policy settings allows you to review those. The same thing with the terms and conditions. And if you're having issues reading those because it's a small font, you can turn your phone on the side. You can see the wording a little bit bigger. Also on here is very important to see what version of the app that you're on. In this case, we're 1.3.0 and build 31. This is our initial launch app. Also on the upper portion of the screen, you'll see on the right-hand side, a way to log out of the app as needed. And then right below that, you'll see our WaveCore and the word switch. Now, what this allows me to do is log into one of my WaveCores, and I can manage both of the WaveCores from this app without having to log out and log back into the other WaveCore. I'm in the :90 WaveCore. And so if I needed to, I could just switch over here to the :50, and then I would get the stats out of that device. Now you can see below that, the first thing that you'll see is that the uptime on here looks like about 1 minute. And that's just because I have recently reset these. You can see that gauges for the CPU, memory, and the disk, and all those are very low. All those are in the green. I do have one admin, that's myself, and I'm connected to the network. So if I click on that, then you can see what my MAC address is and what my DB connection is. This is a 2.4 gigahertz wireless, and the way that I can manage the devices from my smartphone. No alarms currently on here. If there were, they would be listed under the alarms. And then this is a lab network, and so I don't have a whole lot of traffic going over here. There's a little bit of a wireless traffic, And on this device, I actually don't have anything connected to either the interface, or I'll toggle over here to the RJ45. This would display stats if I was connected to either one of the RJ45 interfaces or the SFP Plus interface. I will go over to my :50 now and scroll down. And you can see that I do have some data on my SFP Plus because there is a connection for that, and there's a little bit of data for my RJ45 because both of those ports are connected. And so that's really it for the dashboard. We'll go next into the monitoring section. Under the monitoring tab, we'll have WaveCore, device status, Ethernet ports, and management Wi-Fi. If I click on WaveCore wireless, then I will get the wireless settings for this node. I'll see the MAC address, the center channel, the center channel bandwidth. This is set to 320 megahertz. I could set that to either 160 or 80 megahertz. For the full capacity of the network, I'll leave that at 320 megahertz. And the RX signal, this is neg 20 dBm. That's a great signal because this is just set up. These are about a meter apart from each other. In a real world situation, there'll probably be something in between the units, like a concrete wall. And so I wouldn't get that great of signal. The device type, in this case, is the controller node. The other node, the far end node, would be the subordinate node. You can see that the devices are connected and the amount of time that they're connected. Down below, there is a Start a Line button. And what this does is that if I click on this, then it will go into a mode where the LEDs will start updating at about every 2 seconds rather than every 15 seconds or so. As I'm installing these and I want to align them on either side of wall, then I can use this function and it will allow those LEDs at more of a rapid pace than the normal 15 seconds for quicker alignment function. The wireless core country code allows me to look at the country code that this WaveCore is set at. This is shipped in the United States, and so it is locked. If this was set for a different country, then that would be set at the initial configuration phase. For the device status, if I click on General, you can see the device name, description, where this WaveCore is located at, MAC address, serial number, and so forth and so on. Under System Resources, I can see the CPU utilization, memory, and disk. And those are all very low for this device. Under Ethernet ports IP, I can see that this device was set statically and everything that I configured this for when I initially set it up. Under traffic, I won't have any traffic on this WaveCore node because there's nothing connected to either the SFP Plus port or the Ethernet interface. If I switch over to my other node, the :50 up above, you can see the Ethernet SFP Plus is listed. You can see some of the stats for this interface. If I click over to the RJ45, this is also connected on this network, and so I'll have some stats listed for both of those interfaces. Under management Wi-Fi clients, I can see that I do have one client, that's myself, and with my smartphone, I have the MAC address displayed and the strength of the signal from my smartphone to the WaveCore. And that's it for the monitoring tab. Next, we'll move into the settings tab. The settings tab allows us to configure the WaveCore, and we'll look at the WaveCore settings, Ethernet port settings, device settings, and system operations. Remember that whenever a change is made on the WaveCore settings, a reboot of the device is required. So if any of these changes are done either through the app or through the web interface, make all the changes as needed, and then once that's done, go ahead and reboot that device. So we'll look at WaveCore settings in the install. And this is a location where if this WaveCore was set to factory defaults, I could go into this section and configure all of my wireless IP, username, password, all that kind of stuff would happen through here. This device has already been configured as up on the network, and so I won't go through that process. Also under WaveCore settings, we have a second location where there's an align. And this once again goes through that align process where it puts the LEDs into a refresh rate of 2 seconds instead of the normal 15 seconds for a certain amount of time. If I go to management, I can see that when I set this up, I used a static setting. You can see the static settings that I have for this WaveCore. And under ports, this port is the Ethernet SFP plus, and I could either enable or disable it here. And I could also set up VLAN tagging as needed. The other port that I have on the WaveCore is the RJ45, and the same thing applies. Under device settings, wireless, there is the MAC address of the far end node. Now, really the only time that you would need this setting is if I was going to replace an RMA unit and I needed to swap one out. And then I could use this to update what that MAC address of that far end node is. Under the advanced settings, I do have the option here to change my bandwidth. Typically, I just want to leave that at the highest bandwidth available to me, but I could set that for either 160 or 80 megahertz as needed. Also, my channel is set to auto. Usually you don't have to mess around with that. Under management Wi-Fi, we see that we have our SSID for this, and that could be updated for your network needs. And the passphrase is just the default Airvine, lowercase with a bang or an exclamation point. Under system operations, it allows me to reboot the device. I'll cancel out of here or set it to factory defaults. And I could do either one of those things from the app, remembering that would reboot the device. In the next section, we will go into the events and explain what some of these symbols mean and how that can be useful to you. The Events tab will list the different severities of messages that this WaveCore has logged. These could be notices, warnings, or informational messages. You'll see a bunch of these informational messages at the very beginning of my log. And these are just saying things like my admin was logging in or logging out. And other messages that might be just notices would be a triangle with an exclamation saying there was a login, but this login failed. And I did that actually at the beginning of this where I used the wrong username and password. And then we'll have warnings in this log database. Say that the device lost connection to its peer in its far end node, then we would get a warning saying that we had lost a link. And that's the Events tab and what you'll see in there. And that's pretty much covers it for all of the tabs in the Airvine mobile app for the WaveCore. Please let us know if you have any questions. You can contact either a sales or one of our systems engineers for additional information. And thanks for logging in with us today and going through the Airvine mobile app.